A regular scan revealed a layer below the world's most renowned stone, and what showed up was not a correction. It was a warning. But when sophisticated AI examined its microgrooves and mineral seams, the surface started sharing a more sinister tale, one that shakes belief in what we presume we know. Were sections of the decree changed? Did priests use language as a weapon to manipulate a country? And why do date conflicts and ritual edits point to a calculated narrative, buried in plain sight? The suggestion that the Rosetta Stone might not be a simple vessel of translation but a manipulated artifact creates tremors in both archaeology and history. For 2 centuries, the Rosetta Stone seemed like a closed chapter. Scholars had wrung out every possible fact from its 3 scripts, and museums showed it as a complete narrative, the stone that restored to mankind the voice of ancient Egypt. But when contemporary imaging technology and computer intelligence focused their attention on it, something surprising showed up. The celebrated inscriptions that had long seemed so straightforward suddenly produced a second message, a concealed record inscribed not in words, but in grooves, coatings, and microscopic imperfections of the stone itself. If this kind of story touches your heart, if you're someone who cares about truth, responsibility, and speaking up for the voiceless, please like this video, subscribe to our channel and share it with someone who should hear it. Let's get started. It started harmlessly, with a goal that no one would have argued with, recording the Rosetta Stone more completely for preservation. Employing high-resolution 3D scanning and multispectral imaging, scientists hoped to verify what was already known. Instead, they found anomalies, minuscule fluctuations in depth and texture that did not conform to the normal wear of a 2,000-year-old stela. Some lines are deeper than the surrounding ones. Others show weak marks as if another tool had recarved them well after the original craftspeople had completed their work. More bizarre was the material residue. The early curators had already rearranged the stone's surface when they whitewashed the inscriptions with white chalk to enhance their visibility, and subsequently sealed it with carnauba wax to keep fidgety fingers from damaging it. That wax darkened the stone, causing the illusion that the stone was black basalt. When wax and chalk were removed by conservators in the late 1990s, they exposed a dark gray granodiorite covered with crystalline sparkles and a vivid pink vein. But recent scans went even deeper, uncovering subtle traces of a material that had been packed deliberately into some of the grooves. That was no preservation fluke. The grouping of this peculiar material was visible around sentences extolling King Ptolemy V, once again confirming his divine right and authority. Certain inscriptions emitted slightly differently under infrared photography, indicating they were not cut during the same period as the others. To the naked eye, during daytime, they looked homogeneous. But computer analysis revealed the letterforms had an irregularly mixed combination of depths, cuts, and even composition, patterns that could not be explained away as coincidence. Suspicion grew. Someone had altered the words, perhaps glorifying the king in some way not found in the original decree. Historians, ever conservative, suggested alternatives. Erosion, handling, and centuries of exposure could produce uneven features. But erosion is not selective, nor does natural wear excavate encomiums of a monarch while leaving other passages intact. This concentration suggested intentional effort, perhaps ritual reinforcement of words of allegiance, meant to shore up authority in times of uncertainty. If so, then the Rosetta Stone, formerly received as a sure anchor of ancient history, was not only a capsule of the past but also a palimpsest, an overlaid artifact bearing not only its original decree but subsequent manipulations intended to control memory. Such a revelation shook to their roots the foundations of Egyptology. The stone therefore turns from a puzzle solved into a mystery reopened. If the 3 inscriptions were not only parallel but subtly altered, then the very process of translation, once hailed as a triumph, may itself have borne the fingerprints of political propaganda. The most worrying aspect is that the anomalies group around major assertions of royal virtue, implying they were anything but random. The body of the stone itself adds to the mystery. To the naked eye, the Rosetta Stone appears simple, a piece of black stone inscribed with writing. For almost 2 centuries, it was thought to be black basalt. But this was an illusion, established by the chalk rubbed into the grooves and the wax, which darkened it. Generations viewed basalt, a rock linked with seriousness and durability. Not until 1999 was the facade stripped off to expose granodiorite, studded with quartz and feldspar, marred by a pink vein running its course from quarries close to Aswan. The stone itself has always presented two faces, the manicured mask that is presented to the world and the fractured, marred body underneath. The fragment that is visible today is only a fraction of the original. The Rosetta Stone, presently standing 4 feet tall and 2.5 feet in width, originally stood over 7 feet high. Its top section is missing and probably bore the winged sun disk and the young Ptolemy being offered to the gods, a visual assertion of divine right. This image no longer exists, but the text has been left behind, broken and unevenly preserved. The hieroglyphic part is most mutilated, with 14 lines truncated. The demotic in the middle is clearer but truncated. The Greek at the bottom is longest, though fragmented at its margin. This asymmetric elongation favors the bureaucratic voice of the decree over its religious language. The words addressed to priests and gods are fractured, the words addressed to administrators survive. Already, prior to modern intervention, the stone itself had corrected the narrative. Its script redoubles this manipulation. The Rosetta Stone speaks in 3 voices, hieroglyphs, demotic, and Greek. Each was directed to a different group. The hieroglyphs, religious and ritual, glorified the king's godhood. The demotic, mundane and conversational, spoke of material advantages for the populace, nourishment, silver, tranquility. The Greek, curt and administrative, transmitted legal mandate to officials. Each part had the same decree but to its own audience. The hieroglyphs celebrated cosmic order. The demotic promised material prosperity. The Greek formalized obligations. This was no translation but orchestration, a plurilingual act of persuasion. The context explains why. The decree was composed in 196 BC, at a time of profound crisis. Ptolemy V had become king as a child after his parents were murdered. His regents fought in Alexandria while foreign kings divided up Egypt's empire. Within the country, revolt raged in the south. Priests met in Memphis not to honor triumphs but to rescue stability. Their edict glorified Ptolemy as a deity in exchange for tax breaks and temple benefits. It was a deal, not an announcement. Priests vowed birthday and enthronement festivals each year, placing his reign within the holy calendar. But splits appear, the documents conflict on dates. The coronation is in November in the Greek and hieroglyphs. In the demotic, it is March. Such contradictions must not be waved away as errors, they point to scurry negotiation, fictions of unity and not fact. The history of the stone did not finish in Egypt. Rediscovered in 1799 by French soldiers near Rosetta, it was instantly a trophy. Napoleon had taken scholars with him, hoping to document Egypt's miracles. They understood the trilingual text was groundbreaking. But within 2 years, the British drove out France. The stone was yielded, whether taken by a gun carriage or surrendered underhandedly, and sent to London. There it became not just an instrument of scholarship but an emblem of conquest, shown in the British Museum as evidence of British predominance. Its removal has been disputed ever since, Egypt calling for its return as cultural plunder, Britain asserting preservation and availability. Possession of the stone, as of its significance, has always been a matter of power. Unlocking it entailed another struggle, the war of intellect to read hieroglyphs. Initial attempts were tortuous. Scholars such as Johann David Akerblad got far with demotic, but hieroglyphs defied them. English polymath Thomas Young discovered phonetic values in royal names within cartouches, recognizing hieroglyphs were not necessarily symbolic. His achievements opened the door, but it was Frenchman Jean-François Champollion who cracked open the code. Applying his knowledge of Coptic, he understood hieroglyphs contained phonetic and symbolic elements. In 1822, he declared the discovery of the phonetic alphabet, which opened up Egyptian writing finally. His victory, although challenged by English competitors, gave rise to Egyptology itself. The Rosetta Stone therefore became the door to resuscitating Egypt's voice, although even then discrepancies between the texts were problematic. And now, with AI scans, the stone speaks once more, but in a darker voice. The groupings of recut inscriptions, the luminescent residues, the inconsistencies in ritual dates, all indicate willful editing. The Rosetta Stone can record history but also rewrite it. In 196 BC, priests reading its hieroglyphs imposing divine order, citizens reading the Demotic announcing promises of wealth, and officials reading Greek observing legal power, all left convinced of the king's right to rule, when in fact Egypt was weak and divided. The stone was not recording reality but creating it. That is the haunting thought. The Rosetta Stone, which for so long had been revered as a gateway to truth, could itself have been a propaganda device, a highly calibrated artifact intended to convince every crowd in its own language. Such discoveries change our perspective on history. We learn that the Rosetta Stone opened up an obscure world. But the scans indicate that it also created one. Hidden revisions, ritual timing manipulated, and 3 scripts for 3 different audiences unfold a masterwork of political rhetoric. And if that makes us uncomfortable, it should. It means that even our sharpest keys to the past bear the fingerprints of those who fashioned them. The Rosetta Stone has always been greater than stone and script. It is a testament to how power speaks, how rulers reorder truth, and how language, chiseled into immortality, is the sharpest of weapons.